My name is James. I work with MMRTI. Today we have a special guest, Sheley Secrest. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Can you tell us about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Again, my name is Sheley Secrest. I am running for State Senate here in the 37th District. And you might ask yourself, what's the 37th? It's from Madison Street, so near Seattle University, all the way down Central District, all around Mount Baker and the Lake Washington. Keep going down to Skyway until you hit the tips of Renton. That's the 37th District. And so I'm running for office because we've done a lot of wonderful things. My background, I'm a civil rights leader. You've heard of the NAACP, Martin Luther King and all those great people. I've joined that when I got out of college and have been active in that community. I work for the Urban League, another civil rights organization, and so just community driven through and through. That's mostly about me.
So why are you running for Senate?
Why am I running for Senate? I'm running because there's a little boy about your age. He's about 15 years old. He's being sentenced right now as an adult. That means by the time he serves his time, he's going to have gray hair. He's not going to know how to operate inside of the community. Those types of things, that bothers me. I'm running because there's talent here. You know, you're in school, you're in high school. Cleveland High School is a wonderful high school. There's talent that many students, they need to make certain that they're prepared for a workforce or they're prepared to be able to go to college. I've got 3 wonderful children myself. 2 are in college, 1 is just now completing middle school. I want to make certain that when they graduate, if they want to go to college, student debt is something that no one should have to live with. It is a burden. I mean, you finish school and then before you can even get a job, you've got $100,000 debt that's chained to your ankle. That's something that we as state policymakers, we've got to grapple with. How can we make education more affordable? We've got to find solutions to how can we make certain that the children inside of our middle schools here in Seattle, that they are being prepared for, you know, a workforce. So are we teaching them science? Do they have the math skills? Are they prepared for the engineering, the STEM? That's what they call them, STEM courses. Do our regular middle schoolers, are they prepared to take on that type of hard curriculum? Because young people, you guys, if we don't teach you right, you are not going to be able to represent us in a worldwide society. I mean, it's competition internationally now. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm running. Education's important to me. Then I'm running because public safety is an issue. It's such an issue. You guys remember the Trayvon Martin case? Yes. I was in Florida at the time when that decision came down, and I was shook to my core, not so much just because of how the decision came, you know, George Zimmerman was found not guilty, but it really caused us to look at a statewide level. What are we doing to make certain that when we leave our home, everyone feels safe? What are we doing to make certain that when a police officer puts on that badge and he's willing to risk his life, that he's been given the training that he needs to be able to police our communities? We've got a long way to go. And so statewide, I want to make certain that we've got things like making it illegal to racial profile. And how do we find out if racial profiling is taking place? Are we collecting all of the numbers? Who stopped? What color are they? They call that disaggregating the data, right? How do you have those mechanisms in place to know, are there training opportunities for the police officers that we're just missing out on because no one's bothered to look at how are they being trained? We can't afford to lose anybody, right? And so that's one of the specialties that I served on here in the city of Seattle. I was a part of the movement of making certain that we handled things differently. A couple of years ago, police officers were found that when it came to young black men, they talked to them differently. They handled them more rougher and all of that stuff. We had to change that. Completely changed it. We got the Department of Justice involved and we set new laws. We were able to take part in that because we knew what was happening inside of the community. And we were able to talk with police officers and the young men and the parents and the teachers, and we got everyone around the table and we said, how can we do this better? And so after that discussion, I actually worked for the police department for 4 years. I was the tattletale. Anything that happened wrong, I looked at inside of the police complaints. I looked at how they conducted the investigation, and we started asking hard questions. Did this investigation go right? Did the officer get the training that he needed? Did he get disciplined? It's those types of things that we want to make certain that we bring to a statewide. Seattle's just one city. We still got to think about Skyway. We got to think about King County. And so we need a statewide policy that brings in those same types of challenges that we, work so hard for just here in the city level.
So, understanding what you do for the community and why you're running for Senate.
Yeah.
If you are elected, what should we expect from you?
You should expect someone who's going to be both that tenacious bulldog with a smile, right? Being down there and being able to, call for justice and change things. But you also need to make certain that we have a watchdog. That's what we need. We need to make certain that not only are we advocating for the laws that will bring the resources home to the 37th, here to the Central District, for instance, but we need to make certain that we've got someone up there that says, no, that's ridiculous. Don't pass a law like that. For instance, a couple of years ago, they were talking about a gang initiative. They wanted to pass laws that said, if you're found to be a part of a gang, you're going to get a harsher sentence. Well, they didn't think that law entirely through because no one had a clear understanding of what it meant to be a gang member or how to identify someone in a gang. Is a police officer able to just arbitrarily put somebody's name on a list? Let's say if you've got a little thing in your eyebrow right there. Does that mean you're a gang member? Am I going to be able to put your name on a list and then forevermore you are labeled and you have certain restrictions? You can't stay out past 10 o'clock. Those types of things. That's ridiculous. And so we need folks who are in the legislature who are able to say, don't pass laws like that. That's going to have an impact on certain communities, certain citizens. So it's those types of discussions that you need the right people in office. That's what you can expect from me. And hold me accountable, especially even you. You can say, Sheley, I interviewed you and you said that you were going to do stuff for education. That's what we need to expect from the people that we put into office, accountability. That's what you can expect from me.
So you've done a lot for the community, and I read your flyer. You promised to work more with the community and the youth. So are there more things we should expect from you to do, more activities or opportunities that you will create?
Absolutely. One of the things that I can tell you what I'm doing now. My grandmother, she used to tell me, she said, never promise a better tomorrow unless you can show me what you're willing to do for me today. And so here I'm asking for support and promising what I'm going to do in the community once I'm elected. Let me share with you of what I'm doing right now today. As the program manager for the Urban League through a jobs program called Career Bridge, we are finding that the response to some of the violence that we've seen in our community, the shootings in Skyway, the shootings that were just here around the corner, the shootings that were in Rainier Valley, the response isn't necessarily just a higher presence of police officers. You know how in New York, that was their response. To decrease crime, let's get more police officers out on the streets and, show folks that crime has no place here. And it was a mess. New York was a mess because of all of their stop and frisk policies. I mean, it went to the Supreme Court, everything. It was horrible. We don't want to repeat that same thing. And so I worked with the Urban League. I worked with the mayor, and I said, Mayor, don't increase police officer presence alone. We've got to make certain that go deeper, find the problems. Most of the violence, a lot of the gang activities, a lot of the illegal drug activities, it's because people are suffering. We're supposed to be in a post-recession economy, meaning times were hard, but we're recovering and people are getting jobs. Right. No. I mean, we're getting jobs, but those jobs are an increase like more parents are working at McDonald's now. More parents are working at Subway. More parents are making a minimum wage than ever before in our history. That's huge. And so we're grappling with the problem of what happens when people are working but they still don't have money to make ends meet at the end of their paycheck. What type of aggression does that come into play? What happens when you've got folks who are talented but they cannot find jobs? I mean, period. They can't find jobs. What happens when someone is getting out of prison and because he's got a criminal record, no one is willing to give him a second chance? Those types of things are what's happening. And so you see the result of what happens when we're not addressing. You're looking at symptoms. When you're talking about violence, when you're talking about high crime, when you're talking about drug addiction, usually those are the symptoms of a problem. So the problem needs to be addressed. So we're telling the mayor, let's fix the problem. Let's make certain that we bring jobs, not just any old job. Let's bring jobs that families can actually live off of. And the mayor, he said, okay, and so he gave us some money for this program called Career Bridge, where all we do is we hire, right now it's just men. We hire black men, just strictly that. Find jobs. They have the highest unemployment rate in the nation. Find jobs for them. That's working. So then we got cocky and we said, well, okay, we got the brothers taken care of. Let's go deeper. Let's make certain that we find jobs for men that are 18 to 25 years old. And so when you're talking about the violence and all of that stuff, we're like, let's fix the problem. And now we're going directly into the youth. Jobs, not just any old type of job. We want to make certain that you're making like $17 an hour. If it's in construction, you can make $31 an hour. Good jobs that is going to actually stop them. No one's going to be in the alleys if they've got a job that's going to put food on the table and buy the tennis shoes that they're looking for. So solutions, that type of stuff is what I'm offering.
So how do you feel about the $15 minimum wage? Do you think that will create more jobs?
I was a very strong supporter for $15 an hour. In fact, I can't say that I thought of it on my own. This was actually started from a movement 50 years ago, before either you or I was born.
Oh, wow.
I had to make certain I said that because I don't want you thinking I'm that old. Before either one of us were born, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, a big part of that movement was the understanding that people are working, especially black folks. We are working, we're working hard, but we're not getting any money. They were just getting out of the sharecropping type of, economy where you're paying, you're working, and then at the end of the day, you owe more money for the work that you just did. I mean, it was a scam. It was a horrible scam, right? So they had just gotten out of that. They were working, but then the job industries that they were working for weren't paying them much either. And so that March on Washington, it was not just for, discrimination in housing or discrimination for, better schools. A big piece of that, because remember, jobs and freedom, jobs, that was what this minimum wage that we just saw a couple of weeks ago, that's what that was about, the same notion. People of color, we are still stuck in the minimum wage jobs, meaning we enter those jobs and we don't get training, we don't get the promotion, so we enter the jobs, we get stuck there. Worse, we end up having children, we get married, and we're raising families just off of that small little income. And so finally in Seattle, we said, we've got to do better. We've got to do better. There's more people who are working in those, small, low-paying wages than ever before. We've got to do better. And so the $15 an hour minimum wage, it was really a carryover from what started 50 years ago. The basic idea that if you can make other people be able to afford, going to the movies, right? Small pleasures like that, having enough money to do something other than just go to Redbox, being able to go to the movies, I don't know, something crazy, order popcorn and candy when you're at the movie. I mean, those basic things, when we were interviewing people, they're like, I can't afford to do that. If my car breaks down, I can't afford to even get repairs. That was the type of society that most of us were living in. And so being able to raise that issue up, because Nationally, folks, when they hear Seattle, they're thinking Sleepless in Seattle, that movie. They think of Starbucks, that we're all sitting down in flip-flops drinking lattes all day, you know, with Microsoft here. They think Washington State, they think we're all rich. And just being able to show, look, no, you know, some are doing very, very well, but the majority, 60%, are not doing well in Washington State. We're not, you know, that lavish lifestyle that all the television shows. And so that's who we were fighting for. So it was successful. Small businesses won't be impacted. That was a major piece. A lot of communities of color, we don't work, or we own our own small businesses. And so if you go outside to a restaurant, they're like, I can't afford to pay my nephew. He's a knucklehead already. I just gave him a job because he needed something to, you know, some help. I can't afford to pay him $15 an hour. That's going to kill me. But we were able to work with the small businesses. They were a part of the discussion, got their support because they understood, look, as long as I'm not having to pay it, it's nothing for like employees that or firms or companies that have less than 500 people, right? So we're talking about big businesses, Walmarts, those types of huge businesses that would be impacted by a $15 an hour wage, not the corner stores that we see in the mom and pops. Those folks, they all said, we want people to have more money because if they have more money, they're going to go shopping. And if they can go shopping, they can buy their goods and services from our store. So it was a big celebration for Seattle. Everyone won.
I've learned a lot about what you do for the community. So what kind of message do you give to the audience?
You know what? The main message would be to make certain that we remember to hope again, that we are certain that it's time for us to believe again. There's so many people who became disengaged in politics. Your parents may feel like, you know, what happens in Olympia, it doesn't apply to them anymore because a lot of politicians simply, they've lost touch with the heart and the ear of the community, what's happening on the ground level. It's time for us to remember when we put the president inside of office, we made history. And that was just because your parents, everyday people, folks out there on the street corners, they all lined up and they said, this is a man who understands our issues. He's going to listen. He's not, you know, someone who's bought up by a big corporation or, you know, the big political folks. He was put into office because the people's movement, we put him there. And so back in 2008, a lot of us, it was freezing cold and we would knock on people's doors and we're like, hey, wake up, it's time. This is our moment. That is happening again in this election. This is our moment. This is a moment where you've got someone, a civil rights background, who has been the heart of this community, working in this community, who's going into Olympia to fight on our issues. It's back to that Obama. Instead of saying, yes, he can, we all said, yes, we can. That's the message of this campaign again, that it's time to hope again. And so everyone needs to make certain that they mail in their ballots. July 16th, the ballots are coming out in the mail. We've got to make sure that we turn them in. I like them turned in that day. Why wait for tomorrow? Let's do it today. But we've got until August 5th to make certain every single ballot is cast. That's the message. It's time to hope again.
So you've really helped a lot.
Yes.
So what do you hope to accomplish in the future?
What do you mean? After state senate? I mean, I want to continue to do this work right here, civil rights. There's a whole lot of work that needs to be done. There's a business owner who, went out on her own because she didn't like the job that she was at. And she said, you know what, if I had the right resources, if someone gave me the opportunity, I could live out my dream. We need to help business owners like that who've got talent and creativity. They need state resources. We need to make certain that everyone can vote. We've got folks who came out of prison and they want to make decisions that impact their day-to-day lives, but they can't because they don't have the right, their rights haven't been restored to vote. They owe legal financial obligations, and so they're like, everyone can make decisions about my life and I can't do anything about it. We've got to fight for them. We've got to fight for young students who say, you know what, I'm smart, I'm gifted, but unless I can get into this advanced placement class, unless I can get into this honors class, no college is ever going to see me. We've got to fight for the college professor who says, I've been working here for 10 years, but I can't get a raise because, there's no funding that's set aside for me as a college professor, and I want to be able to teach these young talented students, but at the same time I've got to feed my family. Those types of things. We've got to worry about transportation, who's on the bus, who's not on the bus, which roads are fixed, which ones are not. I love that stuff. And so that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, being able to impact lives and be a part of the discussion of what's going on around the table and bringing the right folks to that discussion, those who've been left behind for way too long. I can do that forever.
So we also use media and technology to change cultural heritage in the community. So what did you learn from this program? Like, what other encouragements can you give to other youth about this program?
Being able to use the media, be it especially for our story. It's hard sometimes if you are a person of color to be able to say, this is how it impacts my community, this is my view. Take, for example, we were talking about the police relations. There was a study over at Wazoo, go Cougs, my son is going to Washington State University in the fall, so I'm a Coug mom, so go Cougs. There was a study that they conducted that said Seattle doesn't have racial profiling. Seattle doesn't have racial profiling. And at the time when we read that study, we were like, wait a minute, who did they talk to? Why would they think that there's no racial profiling? I'm getting pulled over by the police officers every single day, right? There was this huge backlash, Asian community, the Latino community, everyone was like, who did they talk to? And the only way that we were able to even start the conversation from, someone saying, nope, we studied it. There's no racial profiling. Got a study, here it is. The only way we were able to send our message through that was through the use of media. And back then we were using, it was MySpace, so this was before Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. Back then we were using MySpace, anything that would just get our message out that, no, there's another side to the story that you guys never have heard. We used the radio stations. Here in Seattle, we've got two. One is really faltering, crumbling down. But we were trying to use media to tell the other side of the story. Don't believe just that one side. To some people, we're in a post-racial society where racial profiling doesn't exist. But talk to communities of color. We've got another story to tell you. And the only reason why that was successful was through the media. And so one of the lessons, or if I could say anything about this program, is your voice is so instrumental in making certain that you show what's really happening in the communities. To dig, don't just take one side, when you turn on the news in the evening and you hear something about a community that's happening right outside your window. You dig deeper and make certain that you are being the voice that's showing light to what's really happening. What you heard on television, is that how you see it? And if it's not, you find that story and you make certain that you're bringing people to the table like this discussion, and you share the other side. That is how we get our message out. That's how we create change. It's worked before. It's going to keep working.
So on August 23rd, we have a summer festival, and I love your ideas, and we would love for you to come.
I'll come. Is there food?
Yes.
I'll come.
Well, thank you for coming.
I had fun. Thank you so much.
We had a good conversation, and we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.